this is in no way daunting. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the vote of confidence and having me for this interim period. It's my job to, I guess, add a further welcome for today, talk about some key themes of the current network. I'm going to say so many thank yous in this that you may be feeling that you've stumbled across a groom's speech at a wedding at one point, but I think 3 years in the making is an awfully long time. So much hard work has gone on. We need to say thanks to some people, some key people, because this is, as it says here, a successful collaboration. We should be really proud. We've made a lot of key achievements in these last few years, and we've done those within our work themes. A number of you are affiliated with those work themes. We've brought out a number of new case studies and exemplars. We've got a lot of new work going on that we want to achieve in this current bid period, which runs out next March. And some of that includes some nice comms and marketing materials that you'll see on our stand out in the foyer today. And then, without in any way being presumptuous, I always look at Helen Campbell at this point because no hints can be given, but we have put in a bid for the next funding period. We have an idea of how we want that to look and how it should go. So I'd like to have a brief look on the end slide of, if the stars align, how that might go for us. So let's keep those fingers crossed. Okay. There's a tendency for the network director's speech to be very orientated around facts and figures, and I noticed I had about an extra 5 minutes to the standard thing, so I thought I'd indulge myself massively because I might never get this chance again, and it'd be a great way for you to get to know me a little bit, and to be perfectly honest, let you know what you've got yourselves in for here. So what I thought was, well, actually, Southampton as host, Bournemouth as venue, two massively close places to my heart for reasons that hopefully are apparent from this, and through the, what I like to say, white, yellow and blue lens of a Leeds United supporter. My tinted spectacles, you can't tell from here. Now then, Bournemouth, amazing memory for me. I'm looking at Saul as an AFC Bournemouth fan here. Don't worry too much about the negative connotations of this slide and the Daily Mirror headline and the obvious riot that's going on with members of the Dorset Constabulary at the bottom. But as a Leeds United supporter, I'm named after a player called Paul Madeley, for instance. I grew up in the 1980s and we were in the doldrums of the second flight in the old second division. We spent 8 years going nowhere very quickly, and we got a man called Hal Wilkinson in charge, Lee Chapman there in his beautiful yellow shirt, and suddenly we looked like we might get promoted back to the top flight for the first time in 8 years. And what we needed to do was beat Bournemouth on the final day of the season, May 1990, to go up. And we won 1-0, and we got promoted. And within 2 years, we were English champions. Isn't that a beautiful story? So Bournemouth has a very warm place in my heart. Now, as you will see, on the right-hand side there, it made the national press. My brother came to the game. I hasten to add I was only 15. It was far too far, and I couldn't get a ticket. However, I watched from afar with great joy, and then it all turned a bit nasty, and you think, oh, will they even let us into the division behaving like this? So, with that in mind, I came on holiday to Dorset a couple of years ago with my wife and daughter, and I actually ran past this last night, came down the East Cliff to the beach here at Bournemouth. I was greeted with this most horrific sandstorm, ripped into my eyes and face, and we had to beat a hasty retreat back to the car. And I thought to myself, is this the kind of divine intervention always meted out to Leeds fans that come back to Bournemouth after 1990? Well, I'm delighted to say last night was beautiful sunshine, and so far so good today. So there's my Bournemouth story, and I know from our brief chat, Saul, you hold Leeds in the very, very highest regard. So second tale, Southampton. Fast forward, this was November 2005 now, back in the doldrums of second division where we would stay for a very long time. 600-mile round trip with a couple of pals, a few beers, as you might imagine. Turned up at St Mary's, full of hope and expectation. We were having quite a good season. 3-0 down within half an hour, still 3-0 down with 90 minutes left and facing a very long journey home. And then we made a triple substitution, and we got a lucky goal, and then we got a second goal, about 80th minute. In the 90th minute, we got this penalty taken here by David Healy. And he slotted it away, and he thought, we could win this. And then in the 94th minute, a Manchester United player on loan, and only the football fans in the room will know the significance of that, scored the winning goal for us. And what ensued was this most unbelievable celebration of what's commonly known these days as limbs. people piling on each other. It was absolutely wonderful, and Southampton, therefore, still remains my happiest memory in football. We haven't won many trophies as a Leeds fan, but it's still a wonderful memory for me. So that's my very long-winded and off-the-cuff way to say, everybody, welcome to Bournemouth. And Southampton team, Saul, Jen, Lisa, particularly Vanessa for coming into the breach at late. Thank you for the fantastic organisation. It's going to be an absolutely wonderful couple of days. Okay, so on the left-hand side there, we see the preempting of Enrico's session tomorrow on the beach. On the right-hand side, I can't remember which of our last conferences it was, but I think the key theme today and for the next 2 days is just about being here and being together again. And why do I say that? Well, we're at the end of one funding period that comes to pass next March. We're still wrapping up our current objectives. I feel we've done a great job. We've then got the announcement still to come in the next one. So I think this gives us a really unique opportunity before one thing ends and the next thing starts. So let's just enjoy being together again today. Have the type of conversations that Teams and Zoom don't allow us to do. Let's have a couple of days away from the office without any guilt, but with some pride and satisfaction, a job really well done, which we'll look at in a minute. Acknowledge that while the last 2.5 years have been really tough in so many ways, that we actually have a lot to celebrate as a group and as a community. And very specifically at this point, we've brought in some new CRFs, and I'd really like to offer them a really warm welcome today to our community, and we hope we'll see you at these events in the future. And then last but not least, we don't have to worry too much today about the future. Just for a couple of days, we can enjoy the moment, but hopefully be really optimistic about what it will bring for us. So I told you there'd be a lot of thank you, so this is the grim speech bit. And I make no apologies for this because first thanks is to the Leicester team who put together a conference a couple of years ago and weren't able to bring it off. So sad under the circumstances, and a lot of hard work went in, so thank you guys for doing that. Most of our work through the network comes through our work teams, work streams, and our theme leads. They are broadly pictured in these two photographs here. So a few specific thanks to the theme leads, which there are 4 in our senior management team, and to the different work stream and group leads. Thank you for all you do and fostering this real spirit of collaboration that we have. A very specific shout out to our Managers Association, now run by Elke Gemser from King's. This is a fantastic, productive sub-network of advice and support, and they have really great, productive monthly meetings. To Saul and the Directors Association, something that's really pulled together in the COVID period, has fostered a really fantastic spirit of collaboration amongst our directors and our CRFs, and has realised some of the trials and studies that we're going to see featured this morning. And then finally, to our UKCRF Network Ops team, Andy and Sophie, wherever you may be hiding. It's been an outstanding few years for the network and for you guys and for all the hard work you've done. So what you might not all know is in this last 3 months alone, we've had to write a bid, we've had to write our annual report, we've had to prepare for this conference and keep it all ticking over, and done that to a really high standard. So for all of that work, thank you sincerely, Andy and Sophie, and it's a real privilege to work with you. Quite right. Now, I'm running out of time fast, so I won't list all the different people here, but they're generally dotted about the room, bar 1 or 2 today, and this is our senior management team. What a group these guys are. I would honestly say there's a collective of knowledge, enthusiasm, creativity, and really crucially output, because of all the work that this network achieves. You'd be hard-pressed to find a group like this. And I think they're the key reason behind the success and longevity of this community. If I'm going to indulge myself a short personal thanks at this point, it would be to the lady at the top left here, Caroline Saunders, and apologies for this, Caroline. Caroline was our interim, as I like to call her, so she filled in the breach after Helen originally left. For those who don't know Caroline, she's the director at Cambridge CRF, magnificent CRF, and a cornerstone of our network, a phenomenal source of help and advice, a great friend to the network. And I can honestly say, in terms of getting me through these last few months and getting those various things written, I really couldn't have done it without you. It was a real baptism of fire. And to those of you who haven't met her, I can honestly say what she doesn't know about running a CRF just isn't worth knowing. So thank you, Caroline. And then, last but not least, we couldn't move on without saying farewell to the boss. I still call her this because I'm nothing if not obedient. And that's Helen Pidd, Network Director from 2008. 20 years, fantastic service at Manchester. I was there for about 15 of those as her deputy. She's a real pioneer of the CRF network alongside people like Caroline, Joe, Jen and others. Has really brought this through over the last 20 years and has got us to a point where we are a network that can apply for 3 times the level of funding it previously had, which has to be, as our chief executive commented to me recently, a real vote of confidence. So I think it's a fantastic achievement for her. Now, when I was announced, I think it was on LinkedIn and Twitter, I think it was a LinkedIn message I got from my former medical director, I won't name him, he made a comment which was partly flattering. It said, "Congratulations, Paul," and then it said, "Big shoes to fill," and it just finished there. And I pondered this and I thought, 2 things really. One, pretty sure they're only 6.5, so... Second one was, where was the ringing endorsement about being a great choice for the job? So hopefully you get to draw your own conclusions over the next few months on that one. But what I would say, along with Helen and the other people mentioned, it's been a really collective experience. We've done it on a relatively low budget and with some really fantastic results we'll see in a second. So if you would indulge me just for a moment in just a short round of applause, particularly to thank Helen, but also the other people. Okay, Andy and Soph wouldn't forgive me if we didn't look at least at the work of the network and some key stats. So, this is what we do. Hopefully we all know this by now, but for the newer folk in the room, we're about sharing, working with industry, workforce development, this conference and comms. We try and do this by forging operational excellence, driving forward new initiatives, and really promoting UK PLC. And the new bid, that absolutely continues. So, in 2022, where are we now? And I stole this comment from a member of the SMT when I asked for comments for today about we're getting it right and making an impact. And I think that's kind of what I was thinking of when we were writing an annual report and when we were putting together our bid. So if you think about the life of the network so far, it's kind of a 10, 11-fold increase in membership from the original sort of welcome members. In the last 5 years of our bid period, 10 new CRFs have come on board. We had the record symposium attendance last year, and I know this was coming close to the highest ever physical attendance. As a collective of CRFs in the NIHR grouping, at least, the funding stream has, the envelope has gone up significantly in this new bid, and we've welcomed 7 or 8 new CRFs into the NIHR collective. We've had the tripling of funding for the network. There's been similar results within the HRB in Ireland and other devolved nations, so there's real UK and Ireland-wide investment in this infrastructure. And then we've got various KPIs there in terms of our social media reach, comms and marketing, etc. So it's a really sound base to build on. And this is in no short part down to the 4 themes that we've talked about, and here are the titles. And you can see how this then devolves into our current structure. And I'm pretty sure, Andy, don't kick me that I got the right version of this because it keeps evolving. But what I'd like to draw attention to here on the right-hand side is broadly on the left are the SMT and funded members of the network. But on the right-hand side, the theme groups and the work streams, they are led by people giving up the time of their own accord and for their own passion and career building. Under that, there are wheels within wheels. There's whole groups doing excellent work underneath it. And you can really see here the passion and commitment that's another real cornerstone of our success. So just a quick word on how this is coming together and how it's worked in the current period and how we'd like to see it continue to work in the future. So theme 1 and theme 3, I think, intermesh really well. We found it really hard. I'm looking at Joe here because we found it really hard to differentiate what we were reporting on at times, and I think that's a real key strength of how things have worked in the last 5 years. So you see what the role is there. So there's Joe Gray at Birmingham and Karen French from Sheffield in theme 1, and then we've got Jen from Southampton and Kate Blackstone now at the Royal Free, formerly of GSTT, running theme 3. And that's really looking at operational excellence meets workforce development. And the key outputs from this over the years, what's been creation, use, and adoption of operational tools. Along the bottom there, you'll see the real growth in that. The study intensity tool has been a real key platform development for us over the years, something we nicked from America, I remember, back in the day, and played with, and have made it increasingly enhanced for adult and pediatric work. And I think the other thing that this group does really well is the new document creation, things that go on the portal. And for those of you that are new CRFs, this is a really important tool in terms of developing your CRF and your workforce. And then linked to that, the workforce development piece. Growing emphasis here in online training for obvious reasons during the pandemic. Again, the study intensity tool cited there as a real success of how people have accessed that. And there's been two fantastic outputs here that again link the two themes. One's the workforce survey completion, which is really helping us look at what our workforce now looks like, and it's vastly different to that which it used to be, and how we're going to evolve new CRFs and new roles. And then the second one is what I'm calling Jen's baby, which is the summer school tomorrow. The title came from Jeremy, I recall, at Dublin, and we were thinking through how we might do a conference differently in future. And it has been a long time coming, this, and it's really fantastic to see that this will finally come off. Some really amazing work is going to happen tomorrow around some key themes, which I'll mention in a second. But please hang around and give your best for those, because it's a trial in itself, and we want to see if that's going to be something that really suits the workforce needs in future. Theme 2, this is the one with the most still left to do, unfortunately, so I don't know who used to lead that one before. Stephen Barnett, there from Surrey, and I have to give a mention to Steve McSwiggan, the legend that is Steve McSwiggan from Edinburgh. Again, a man who just knows this industry so well. So Theme 2 has been a strange and nebulous journey over the last 5 years, building a site intelligence database, relationships with industry, the expression of interest sort of process that we've pulled together, trying to link industry to key opinion leaders. But it started to pay off in this last year, and it's been a work of endurance and perseverance, I think, but we've got 44 expressions of interest through our group on a Friday morning. We've now got an IPF trial with LabCorp, formerly known as Covance, which has currently got 4, if not 5 CRFs solely running it, and they're looking for more sites. And last but not least, we've got this amazing opportunity, and if I'm self-centeredly doing this because I've part-brokered it, but if there's one key message from my talk today in terms of the next 6 to 8 months and the opportunity for us as a network, it's what we can do with AstraZeneca, and there's a session at this tomorrow in the summer school. But they are looking for the CRF to develop their pipeline, starting with respiratory, moving into more general medicine and through to cancer. And this is awarded work, generally where they're struggling to recruit at the moment. So I think this is a massive opportunity for us to sort of, carpe diem and all that. Theme 4 has been led by Caroline, and we have to give a nod at this point to Caroline Borker, formerly of this parish, and Bella Starling, who I know is here today, who's very welcome, is taking over this theme lead. Theme 4 is our PPIE group, which will be expanding into PPIE, EDI, won't it, in the future? So very strong in peer support and training, representation on national programs, and then this movement now into more EDI focus. And then we like traditionally to have a launch at this conference, and they're all a bit soft launchy this year, but bear with it anyway. Now, I think the really significant things that are happening at the moment, and I see Richard at the back of the room, so he's going to tell us about the Agile trial later on, close to my heart, because we're running that in Lancashire, and it's a really nice Northwest story as well. But in terms of treatment in sort of phase 2, that's been a really fantastic platform trial with Minipavir's licensing. We've got ongoing vaccine success that I think we're again touching on later this morning, and some case studies out there on those. We've got various case studies, I've mentioned them, some comms and marketing materials, the AZ development I've just mentioned. Tomorrow we're looking at a scoping exercise around developing, hopefully with Capfinity, a bespoke CRF Managers Leadership Programme. So aimed primarily at those running units or their deputies. So we want to see if we can again run that as a pilot sooner rather than later. And we've got ongoing work and collaboration in PPI. And at this point, just to give a particular nod to Tanya and Natasha, who were speaking to us later this morning. So this is what we want to do with our comms and marketing materials. We want a common look and theme for the network, and we want to try and achieve the nuts and bolts of this by next March, starting with the case studies that you'll see out on the stand today. So quite a lot still there to achieve, but we've put a panel together to try and do that. And then last but not least, what might the future hold for us? So I'm going to say some stuff, and if Saul Rugby tackles me at any point for being indiscreet, or Helen gives me a vicious stare, then I've said too much, but I think I'm saying what's in the public domain and what we do know. So, without tempting fate, we've bid for £2.4 million. Saul will be clinical lead, and I would be operational director. It's a commitment to continue and build on this work we've just looked at with our themes, but build that into these 4 work packages. It would devolve responsibilities away from what would be maybe traditionally viewed as a hardcore of the original Wellcome Trust CRFs. So we'd do that by having around 20 funded positions. So really hoping that in this, and these are sort of part PA type roles, that we'd really have a really wide spread from among our community of 50-something CRFs. A number of you have expressed interest in roles in advance as a show of hands, and what we hope now is we can go through a really sort of democratic recruitment process. So I think this gives us cause for optimism and to proceed. So it really just remains for me to say thanks very much. I'm slightly over time, so I'll leave it there. Please visit the stand, learn about the network, come and see the case studies, look at the best practice tools. But the main thing, as I said before, please just enjoy being here for a couple of days. And thank you very much.